welcome to the channel. All about the blues harmonica. Quick video today. When you're soloing, alright? Yeah, people will be telling you to learn your scales and chords. You don't have to learn it in every single key. It's a good idea to, if you want to play anything, but by and large, you know, playing scales, it's designed to give you facility, you know. So when you're doing your, it's designed to give you facility. Basic blues scale. Okay, just basic blues scale, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's good. It all gives you facility in your other scales. However, you should be mindful that when you're trying to play solos, that they're spontaneous in the moment. You get a lot of people who learn compositions and they learn scales and chords and patterns, and then they incorporate them into their playing in a patterned, sort of kind of logical way. And then they justify this by holding things up, you know, that kind of thing, and then they'll run down the pattern, you know. It's improvising to a point. But let's just take you back a little bit. When I started music out as a kid, it's just what was available at that time, I guess. But classical guitar was the thing, and I played it flat out, solid. Ended up with a private tutor. I was going to go to some weird special school for music by the time I was 11 and a half. I was nailing all this stuff down, right? Anyway, one day my tutor had given me some stuff. I worked on it for a week, went back to play this quite a big compositional thing I was playing. But instead of playing it correctly with all the breaths, skip breath accents, I'm thinking of some of the other instruments now, all the accenting and everything classically how it should be played, I played it with my own accenting and my own dynamics and everything. I did it my way, and my tutor gave me a right rocket, gave me a right old blast, and I went away with my tail between my legs, and I was pretty disappointed with life at that point. I was completely confused, couldn't understand it. What was going on was the fact that as I was developing and becoming a 12-year-old, I was starting to develop freedom of expression. But, and I was finding that this was being stifled. Excuse me, but I didn't realise that at the time. Anyway, we fast forward many years later, and then for most of my adult playing career, I was a jazz saxophonist. And I play multi-instrumental. I play, you know, slow on piano. I know guitar fretboard up and down, no problem with that. I compose on guitar, play piano slow, but I use guitar mainly for that sort of stuff. And I've been a jazz saxophonist for most of my adult life. As a musician, I did some crazy things before that, and blues harp's always been an integral part of that. But when you come to improvise, it has to be in the moment, and the idea really is you need to be blanketing your mind off just before you're about to play. You know, I've mentioned before how some people used to stand at the bar and drink and talk about anything other than what they're about to do. Other guys sat in a corner on their own, don't want to look at the crowd, just meditating because they want everything open when they're about to play and get themselves in the most relaxed state possible. Some guys tell jokes. They'll do anything other than talk about what they're about to do. You don't go down that geek route, if you see what I mean, because that is detrimental to creative playing for sure, and you won't perform like you need to perform. Alright, so you know, as I just played at the start there, just playing something, when you approach something, when you approach anything you're doing in the moment, you're wanting to work off what's around you. As I've said in other videos, you're working off the band, you're working off the atmosphere, you're working off the crowd, you're working off anything. And of course, yes, you should absorb yourself with listening, but this particular instrument, the blues harmonica, is predominantly about rhythm, and so you should be spending an awful lot of time listening for that rhythm, because that's what your interpretation is going to be. You know, you get guys, the old greats like Sonny Boy Williamson and Sonny Terry from even further back, you know, the sort of guy, onto your little Walter who created that electric sound. I mean, we all sort of gravitated to, and then you go and find your own way of doing it, you know. You do find people that will just emulate that person, you know. If they were going to be eating Weetabix or Rice Krispies in the morning, then they'd be doing it. I've seen this in the jazz world. Seen people that, you know, actually thought they were John Coltrane, for Christ's sake, and spent 18 hours a day working on Coltrane work, you know, for years and years and years, you know. And some of them actually freely admit it, they're complete clones. Although their improvisations will be fragmented in their way, it still will be nailed down. There won't be much originality there, okay? So it's very important to open your mind up early, all right? And don't get into playing patterns. Patterns and lines are simply facility. They're facilities for being able to do other things. And you see it time and time again, and you see it all over the internet, okay? And you should look at a guy, you know, just look at a guy's body of work and see how they approach it and how you can use a simple idea. And an example of which somebody like Paul Butterfield, the blues harmonica player, Butterfield Band, it's very simple in one sense of what he's doing. Second position blues scale, more or less, that's it. But it's the ways which he's doing it. B.B. King, very simple. Within a couple of years, 18 months, you could probably nail down everything B.B. King ever did. A lot of players go that way. Okay, you can nail it down, but you ain't going to sound like him. Alright? You're just going to be a rough version of what the genius of B.B. was doing. Okay, which is something else. You have to be able to tap into that early doors. Now, I was picking this kind of thing up by the time I was 12 years old, what was going on. And then I understand it, so that by the time I'm in my 20s, I'm starting to understand what playing is about. Okay, that's really important, because you're better off somebody that can hardly play, it's playing themselves, putting their own expression, than someone that's spending their whole life with somebody else's expression. You know, it's kind of really important. Okay, just one last thing. I'm just trying to keep everybody motivated here. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's not a difficult instrument to get going on. You'll have a lot of fun. Pick yourself a few lessons off myself, or get some off wherever, and get yourself on the right track. There's a new harmonica out now called Penta Harp, which it makes life a lot easier than this. If you want to play the blues notes, I think it's designed for people who play guitar and just want to play a few bluesy phrases. Okay, and that's great. They've done a great job. But remember that it's not going to replace this. It's a bit like changing your piano keyboard down. So instead of going C, D, E, flick your thumb over and then play the rest of the scale on the white notes in C in first position on the piano. You know, they've moved the notes in a different order, so that those notes that you're playing where you had the white notes, you'd have a blues scale. You've still got a layout, it's just a completely different layout. So if somebody starts out with one of those, then they're going to have to develop from that point. And you could be able to do it. You could end up being an absolute genius on it. But you've got to remember that at the moment you're going to be limited to manufacturers and all the rest of it. It's a little bit like, you know, Betamax videos back many years ago were better than VHS videos, but they couldn't swamp the market, so they although that technology was better than that one, they ended up getting phased out. And as technology moves on, this is the sort of thing that happens. So with this Penta Harp, you may find somebody in 50 years time that can play a blues harp in that kind of layout at a very high level, but you're not going to come across that for, well, certainly not in my lifetime, because by the time they're getting to there, everybody else with this is further over here. Okay, so it is what it is. It's good for somebody that can't get the blues notes doesn't want to work at it and chink a few chords on guitar and it'll work, but it won't sound the same, obviously, because all the bends and everything are in a different place. It's basically just a different layout. So it's a really good idea that they've done it. Hopefully they do well with it. But in terms of getting a guy to really, you know, put a shift in on one, that ain't going to happen in my lifetime. Or if it does, it'll be one person if you're lucky. Alright? Okay, hope that helps some people then. Get stuck into the blues harp. Remember, you're looking and listening for rhythmic concept. That's your goal. Catch you on the rebound.